Bonjour French 1. Today's lesson is all about telling when you do an activity, specifically in relation to this section, when you have your classes. There's several different ways to describe when you do something. One of those is by giving the time that you do something. Now, we will be talking about how to tell time in class because there are some misconceptions, and I'll go into that a little bit here in the video as well. But for purposes of this video and these notes, I'd like to use the 2 o'clock hour as our sample hour. But keep in mind that you can replace, the reason why these are all in parentheses here, and you do need to write the whole phrase. But the reason why the deux and the trois are in parentheses is because you could use any hour on a clock or in the time of day with these endings to describe the various times during an hour. So when it comes to describing the various times during an hour, you can get specific and say something like 2 hours, 12 minutes. But for purposes of this section, we want to start out simple and just give you 5 or 6 phrases to get you through an hour. For that, we're going to use things such as 10 minutes after, quarter after, what we know as half past, quarter till, and 20 till. So first thing we need to do is make sure that you know what these mean in English. So as you're jotting these down, and again, make sure you're writing the whole line, make sure you realize what these mean in English. If you say 10 minutes after an hour, such as 10 after 2, what you're saying is really 2:10. It looks like this on a digital clock. One of the biggest misconceptions with my students through the years has been what quarter after means. Quarter has nothing to do with 25 cents and it being 25 minutes. A quarter of something is 1/4 of something, and with an hour being 60 minutes long, when you go a quarter or 1/4 around the clock, you are actually at the 15-minute mark. So quarter after an hour, such as quarter after 2, is actually 2:15. So if you've been living under the idea that a quarter after or a quarter till is increments of 25 minutes, you're actually incorrect. A quarter of an hour is 15 minutes. So quarter after is 15 minutes after the hour, or in our example here with the 2 o'clock hour, 2:15. Half past is just a fancy schmancy way of saying that the minute hand is halfway around. That would be the 30 mark, basically. So half past 2 would be 2:30. Quarter till, again, keep in mind that quarter is 15 minutes, so it's 15 minutes until the next hour. Now, the thing that's kind of weird about that is 15 minutes until the next hour, you actually say the next hour's time. So when we say 2:45, if we say that as quarter till, we say it as quarter till 3. As in we're quarter of the way till that 3 o'clock hour, as in 15 minutes till 3. So it's really weird that on a digital clock it reads as 2:45, but whenever we say that it is quarter till 3, and we actually give the next hour. Same thing with something like 20 till. If you wanted to say something like 20 till in English, you could say 2:40, but if you want to say 20 minutes till the next hour, you actually have to say that next time. So even though on the digital clock it says 2:40, when we say it verbally, we say 20 till 3, and we talk about the 3 o'clock hour. So be careful. Telling time just in general in English is a little bit confusing, and then when you take it to the next level with translating it to French, it definitely becomes a lot harder. So real quick, let's go through the vocab in French. As always, it would help you a lot if you could pronounce after me. If you wanted to just say the actual time as in an o'clock time, as in straight up, it's the top of the hour. For example, 2 o'clock, you would say 2 heures. Heure is the word for hours. So literally you're saying 2 hours. That's how they say 2 o'clock. If you want to say 10 minutes after, in our example here, 10 minutes after 2, you would say 2 hours 10, which in French is 2 heures 10. And what you're really saying here is 2 hours 10 minutes, which is their way of saying 10 minutes after 2. If you want to say quarter after, such as quarter after 2, in French they phrase it as 2 hours and a quarter, which is 2 heures et quart, which is their way of saying quarter after 2. Notice that the word order on these is very different, so I'm giving you both the literal translation of these phrases and the way we say them in English as well. If you wanted to say 2:30, the conversational way of doing that is to say half past 2 rather. In French, they say 2 hours and a half, which is 2 heures et demie. Now we get to the really confusing ones. If you want to say quarter till, in this case 2:45, which is quarter till 3, you actually have to say 3 hours minus a quarter. Again, that's their way of saying quarter till 3, and that is 3 heures moins le quart. Literally, it means, like I said, 3 hours minus the quarter. If you want to say 20 till, as in our example 2:40, which is 20 till 3, you have to say 3 hours minus 20, as in 3 hours minus 20 minutes. In French, that is 3 heures moins 20. Very strange translations. I know this is probably the most difficult part of this section. If you just want to say a general time, such as noon, which is of course 12 p.m. in the middle of the day, the word for noon is midi. You don't have to add any numbers, you don't have to add hours or anything like that. And if you want to say midnight in the middle of the night, you would say minuit. Again, nothing to add to those vocabulary words. Just like in English, you don't have to say o'clock or quarter after or anything like that. You just say noon and midnight. As a couple of examples here, if you wanted to say something like 3:15, you would say it is, which is il est, and then the way French people say 3:15, remember, for quarter after, is 3 hours and a quarter, so 3 heures et quart, and again, that just means it's 3 hours and a quarter, which we know as being quarter after 3. If you wanted to say something like 5:30, you'd have to use this half-past phrase that we talked about right here. You would basically be saying in French, it is 5 hours and a half, which is il est 5 heures et demie, which in English is some time where we would say it's 5:30 or 5:30. Some of the other numbers you might not remember or might not be as familiar with from earlier in the year, but you'll definitely need to know because they are hours on a clock, are the numbers 1 through 12, and again a reminder on what the number 20 is. Again, the number 1 is un, 2 is deux, 3 is trois, 4 is quatre, 5 is cinq, 6 is six, 7 is sept, 8 is huit, 9 is neuf, 10 is dix, 11 is onze, 12 is douze, and those are for your hours. And then if you do want to talk about the 20 minutes, don't forget the word 20 is 20. That's probably the most difficult stuff. Another way of talking about when you do something or when you have classes is to use your days of the week. These are the French words for the days of the week. They do not capitalize their days of the week, and they always start their week with Monday. So whereas in the United States, calendars go from Sunday to Saturday, with the first day of the week being a Sunday, in France they look at things a little bit differently. They consider it to be a Monday through Sunday weekly calendar. So their calendars will start with the day of the week or the first day of the week being Monday. So as we go through these, that's why they're in this order, and this is why they're not capitalized. It's just not the way French people do things. So the word for Monday is lundi. The word for Tuesday is mardi. The word for Wednesday is mercredi. The word for Thursday is jeudi. The word for Friday is vendredi. The word for Saturday is samedi. And the word for Sunday is dimanche. Finally, some other terms that you may need to know are things like if you say that you have something today, tomorrow, or right now. So let's go ahead and give you those words. The word for today is really strange. It's pronounced aujourd'hui. If you have something tomorrow, like we learned how to say see you tomorrow, so this should be somewhat familiar, you have it demain. And if you need something or you have something right now, you have it maintenant. The word for the week is la semaine, and the weekend should be pretty easy to remember. It's le weekend. Other generalities you can make is that you have things in the morning, the afternoon, or night. So again, the way you would say in the morning in French is du matin. The way you would say in the afternoon is de l'après-midi. By the way, this is literally the word for after, and you know from on the other page of your notes that this is the word for noon, so it translates word for word. And if you want to say in the evening or in the nighttime, it's du soir. The last thing is not actually on your notes, so that's why there's stars here. You might want to add this word. Just the word for a day in general, like your days of the week, is the word jour. We learned that whenever you said bonjour, you were literally saying good day. I know this is a lot of information. We're going to practice this a lot in class, and we're definitely going to get your time-telling skills on point if they're not already there. Just make sure you bring this with you so that you can use it.